I'm Jack.
And I'm John. And we are going to get started on the final video, our third and final one from the NewFronts. We went to New York with thanks to Emma. The first point that we've been talking a lot about since we've come back is thinking really critically about content distribution. So BuzzFeed pulled up this chart that's really stuck in our mind that 22% of their content views happen on their site, which means that 78% happen on channels that they don't control or own. So that's Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, Vine, whatever it is. And for advertisers, that has really big implications, right? Because as Jack pointed out, as soon as we got out of that room, that means that you don't own all of the data and all of the audience. So therefore the ad products become quite traditionally TV in the sense that it's like you integrate or you sponsor.
And I think to that point, we always knew the feed was incredibly important from a media point of view, but it just got us thinking about, well, how do you actually get into it? To John's point, the first step seems to be traditional TV products like integration and sponsorship, but particularly chatbots and moving forward, you have to think about what else you can offer in the feed or similar services to stand out and earn attention, rather than simply renting your audience in the hope that they're going to watch a few seconds of video with no sound.
And also it's sort of another thing about sort of digital media moving towards total frictionless consumption, whether that's the actual consumption of your product, the consumption of the content, but being able to put your message and your service where the consumer actually is, rather than thinking that you have to drive them to a third-party site or another avenue from which to convert them. So I thought that's certainly something we've been thinking a lot.
And on that subject about competing for their attention wherever they are, one thing in particular, the way we use the word content, is recognizing that content now has an incredibly cutthroat competitive set. The video quality that these companies were talking about, the New York Times, Refinery 29 was talking about video content they make that is actually in film festivals like Sundance. It's going to Cannes to the film festival there. So understanding that content itself, although it refers to so many different things, right now the top end of content in VR and video is going to become increasingly expensive. If you want to cut through in that market, you're now not just competing against branded content, you're competing against films, you're competing against original content of incredible quality.
And that word as well was hardly used in New York. The word, content as a catch-all phrase to try and capture everything from, articles to video. No, they say what they're making. If it's a documentary, they're making a documentary. If it's a film, it's a film. If it's a TV show that lives online, it's still a show. Because, consumers, people don't see it as content, they watch videos. And so because the competitive set is, as Jack said, it is Netflix, it is film, it is how do we grab you for those precious media hours, they are talking in a much more premium way that I think advertisers have to as well now.
Absolutely. And hopefully that will help settle the age-old debate about what is a view. Because if we are getting to that point where you're competing for attention and you're competing as film, as hours spent, or just on video itself, understanding what really does count. Because even in our 2 weeks there, we had everything from 13 million views on a single YouTube series compared to 2 million views on a traditional TV series using completely different metrics, each one telling the other one that theirs was far better.
And actually, before I forget as well, one of the interesting points with that sort of investment in film, in a TV show slate or in VR, is that these media companies are pushing really, really hard because they know that the first experience of it is going to determine whether or not you stay and come back for that additional show, that additional film. So things like VR, these companies aren't dabbling in it. They're not trying to do some sort of Tron-like game where you're in a computer. These are, immersive, very well thought out narratives that use the format not as a gimmick but as a storytelling tool. And I think what I'm really excited about, I've downloaded the New York Times VR app and have been going through those examples, and it is a world apart from a lot of the stuff that's getting made now, and there's going to be real value in having VR authority and being able to work out exactly what that storytelling technique is like, because it has big implications for brands, especially sort of travel or food or a whole bunch.
It's crazy to think that the burden of keeping that entire media experience alive is on them making great content now. You know, to your point about you have a bad experience, you're not going to come back. You're certainly not going to pay a couple of $100 for a headset.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fascinating to think that right now they're on the front lines, deciding to some extent whether adoption really picks up.
Yeah. And then probably our last point is the first sentence that the New York Times CEO said when on the very first day in New York. He said that the future of media is diversified services. And I think what's interesting is seeing how in an age where those media companies have to create real value for not only their shareholders but grow their offering outside of possibly not being able to monetize their digital assets as quickly as they need to. They're offering now full content marketing solutions. They are, Vice is a brand agency that does some journalism. BuzzFeed is a content marketing agency that does some journalism. New York Times, even with their T-brand studio, is almost like is full brand content marketing sort of offering. And what was that? They had that
Story X. They even have a whole nother division that's designed to bring brands in and help them explore how you actually use their platform to tell stories.
Yeah.
So not just make the stories, but also how to distribute and amplify them.
So that will be something that's really interesting because as well, New York Times, very, very old, traditional media company that's moving really, really quickly into that space. And not calling it words like native. They're telling real stories with serious investment behind it. Which sounded really promising, and certainly the first few examples they showed us were just great. So that will be interesting to see how the local players develop that out.
Yeah, I'm already starting to see some of that. I saw realestate.com.au did a Facebook live tour of a multi-million-dollar home in Vaucluse, which I thought was great. Just jumping onto that technology, I watched it myself. Being able to walk through the house with them was an incredible experience, having the palm of your hand. So seeing the pace of change speed up, it'll be fascinating to see how local publishers really get on board.
Yep. So it was a great 2 weeks. If you've got any questions at all, you can get in contact with us and we can answer them, try our best to. Thank you to Emma. The NewFronts were amazing. If you get the chance to go next year, do it.
Absolutely.
And yeah, thanks for watching.
Thank you guys. See you soon.